And by now, you've heard about what's happening down in Florida with the state attorney general, the senators, the governors. Remember, Tallahassee is the home of Florida State. It's also the home of the state government. So is this home cooking? We don't really know. So we'll find out. Chatting with Matt Baker, who covers the college football scene, including the Gators. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Matt, thanks for being here. Just take us through what's happening from all the leaders of your state, and what does it all mean, if anything?
Thanks for having me. It's absurd is what it is. I'll put it this way. The NCAA volleyball Final Four is here in Tampa, and my day started, I was in the car with my kid, taking him to the school bus, and I'm on the phone with a U.S. senator. Then I'm at the arena getting ready for volleyball press conferences, talking with an antitrust lawyer. I mean, that's just the way things are. I mean, the actual news is the state attorney general has opened an antitrust investigation into the college football playoff and whether there were some shenanigans. I'm pretty sure whether you personally were involved in the selection of Alabama over Florida State, Paul, because you pulled the strings. So they're kind of looking into that, and the senators are upset. The governor has set aside $1 million for potential litigation, if that's from the state, from Florida State University, regarding this as well. There's a lot going on, and it's kind of wild to me that here we are a week and a half later. And just to be clear, I put Florida State ahead of Alabama on my AP Top 25 ballot. I don't think it's crazy that they went Alabama over Florida State, but it is just crazy to me that a week and a half later, this stuff is still going on, and I have been assured by important people that it's not going away.
Well, Matt, I'll keep my own opinion out of this because I think everyone knows what it is. So for the sake of sanity and maybe a modicum of objectivity, can you give us the other side of it? Because talking to an antitrust attorney is valuable, and I'm sure the individual explained a little bit about what they are trying to accomplish versus what the law actually states.
So the argument is that if you accept the idea that this does not pass the smell test, that there might be some nefarious shenanigans, shady stuff going on here. If you accept that argument, then in order to know whether this was all above board, you need more information. You don't have enough information right now to know one way or the other. So the idea is that the state of Florida can ask for these records from the college football playoffs, whether the SEC, whether ESPN, whether the ACC, if any of these people were talking with the playoff committee during, before, after the deliberations, which then in theory, if they were putting their hand on the scale, right, if there was some sort of shenanigans going on where the SEC or ESPN or the ACC said, do it this way, and that influenced the decision, that's where you would go into potential antitrust thing. If it wasn't about what it was supposed to be, which was who was the best team, if there were other factors at play, financial, horse trading, whatever they may be, that's where it gets into a potential antitrust violation. So that's the whole thing is, people can say whatever they want, but I think right now the Attorney General and U.S. Senator Rick Scott and some other people want to see what's the information here? How can we get more transparency here to see what happened and why? Because a lot of them don't accept the playoff explanation on its own merit. I'm not saying I do, but that's the thing is they want more information.
I'm a little confused about one aspect of the antitrust claim because if they are coming after ESPN, which is fine with, they can do whatever they want, the idea that they would be favoring the Alabama over Florida State, which is a member of the ACC, which also has an exclusive arrangement, as everyone knows, with ESPN. Until the end of this calendar year, the SEC does not. The SEC has a relationship with ESPN and CBS. The ACC is all ESPN, and I really don't understand how they could make that stick.
Alabama they're the juggernaut, right? They're the literal elephant in the room here, and they are, them and Ohio State are usually kind of first and second or in that area in terms of TV viewership. Now, some of it's the conferences, some of it's the teams they're playing and what have you. But Alabama's the argument is that Alabama is a bigger draw for the casual sports fan in Tampa, Topeka, Tulsa, wherever it is, in a way that Florida State is not. So therefore, ESPN might, in theory, be able to sell more ads or get more for ads with Alabama in the field rather than Florida State. Because you're exactly right. Both the way the media landscape is, ESPN has a lot of partners in here, including the SEC and the ACC. So I guess the other argument, too, is that ESPN has invested more in the SEC and its long-term growth and what have you. So in theory, it might behoove ESPN to do more to try to help the SEC than the ACC. Again, that's just some of the arguments there. I have a lot of questions.
But now what's going to have to, I mean, what they're going to end up proving is what we already know, that the SEC is more successful. They both have conference networks. I don't need to tell anyone whether the SEC network or the ACC network has more viewers. It just seems like a lost leader in the sense that they're going to prove what everybody already knows, that whether there was collusion or not, and that the ACC is inferior to the SEC. Do you really want to prove that in court?
Well, the argument wouldn't be that one conference is superior to the other. The argument would be that the SEC or ESPN, or in theory the ACC, one of them was doing something nefarious here, something beyond the argument.
And Matt, how do you, I know I'm pushing you to answer things that Madam Attorney General should be answering. And she's welcome to call in, because I sincerely believe she's probably heard of this network, since in her own admission, the very first thing she told us, I'm a Gator fan, as if.
I'm a Gator. Mm-hmm.
And let me stop there, because I want to go back to that. If you're trying to follow the law, which I always hear Attorney General say, is that the best thing to start with? I'm a Gator fan, but.
I mean, it's the point that even this, I don't have a personal stake in this. Is the point? It's not like she's a diehard Florida State fan.
Why don't you leave that part out?
Because it's trying to make a point that this goes beyond the issue of fan allegiance. This is a point of fairness. And again, I'm not defending that. I'm making their point, just to be 1,000% clear, because I don't need people yelling at me. I got enough issues.
Let's drag you into it.
No, please do.
But Matt, how is it playing in the state of Florida?
Well, my inbox is consistently full. I've stopped checking my Twitter mentions. Among the most read stories on our site, TampaBay.com, for the last week and a half has been Florida State stuff. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Number 4 story on our website is more Florida State stuff right now, the second. So it is. I mean, it's red meat, and that's if I can be cynical for just a second. I know cynical with politics is very odd, but hear me out. If I can be cynical for just one moment, somebody might look at this situation and say, you know what, this is just politicians grandstanding, trying to make a point, just trying to score political points. Like, that's I don't know that a politician has ever done such a thing, Paul. But in theory, that's something that could be at play here too as well.
Hey, by the way, I'll make it easy for you, Matt. This isn't just a politician. This is a craven politician trying to satisfy her fan base. And I know her history, and so does everybody in your state. So I think it's pretty obvious what she's done in the past, and the fact that she doesn't care about this any more than any other Florida fan. They're just trying to please the masses because this is a popular issue. That's understood. I'm just trying to figure out where she's going to find relief in the law, and how is she going to get these records, assuming they even exist.
Yeah, so it's called a CID. It's a civil investigative demand. It's essentially a civil subpoena. And I was talking with antitrust lawyers about it today. It does have some teeth, where if the playoff said, no, we're not giving you anything, then in theory they could go to court and be held in contempt of court for not providing these documents. So now the most likely scenario.
But Matt, at some point, wouldn't they have to prove something other than just throw stuff against the wall?
Yes, correct. It's not. This is in the first inning, is what one of the attorneys, not involved in this case, but another attorney explained it to me. This is we think there might be some shenanigans. We need some evidence to see whether this was above board or whether this.
But as of this hour, they really don't have any evidence in their possession, do they?
No, and as you said, there might not be evidence. They're asking for emails and text messages and what have you from the SEC and ESPN to the playoff, and those might not exist. Like, I would be shocked if Greg Sankey was texting Boo Corrigan,
of course not.
The selection committee chairperson. Hey, Boo, it's me, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner. Please remember, put Alabama in, otherwise we will be very upset. Love, Greg. Like, now, again, there might be some smoking guns, but there's no evidence to that I have seen as of this moment, and it might very well not exist.
Give me something.